Okay, everybody, as you can see, it is 12 a.m. and I just had an amazing idea as I was searching through Analytical videos. I came across the idea that what if I just went to my anime list, went to, I don't know, completed anime or just, all anime, and I don't know, got a random number generator, rolled it, and started talking about a random anime. I thought that's a genius idea, and I started congratulating myself fiercely, and then I started coming on to myself. Let's not discuss it. So let's roll this random anime and see what we get. Okay, 62. I have no idea what this is going to be, to be honest. 62 is completed anime, and it is Dragon Ball Z, a movie. Okay. Yeah, I'll try my best to talk about this. I was hoping to not get, a long-running series that I could have a lot to discuss on, but just a movie, a subsection of a series, I think I could talk about that. I want to get those advertisements out of here. So this movie, okay, let's talk about this movie for a second. So Tree of Might, clearly by my score, me only giving a 2 out of 10, I wasn't too impressed as far as Dragon Ball Z movies go. I felt it was one of the weaker movies, but honestly, after watching Mr. Caption's video about it, I feel a little bit stronger about it as a whole. I might bump it up to a 3, but at the same time, I might just keep it as a 2, because he made a good point in his video about it was the one time that we got to see this cast of characters work together and actually all contribute to the story. It's like pretty much the only time we've ever seen that, and that's rather impressive. And these guys over here, I guess, weren't the worst things ever in the history of movies. This guy was clearly just a marketing play, but that's fine. The whole Tree of Might itself thing, there was some decent imagery, like this here was a decent piece of imagery that you could find only with the Tree of Might, and yeah, I mean, I personally didn't really enjoy the story that much. I felt the action was a little bit subpar for even Dragon Ball Z standards. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z necessarily for action. I watch it for, nostalgia and like character stuff and other reasons, and Dragon Ball for the sense of adventure, and Dragon Ball's an actual really great series. Dragon Ball Z I watch for the combat system, which is completely different from the combat itself. The combat system is the key, the fighting, the type of action that is displayed, the rules of the action that the characters have to follow, rather than the actual action that they partake in, the mental duels between the characters, but in Dragon Ball Z's case, the make-believe battles of yelling at each other. But this movie, I don't know, I just feel like it didn't quite strike home. I felt like gathering the dragon was way too easy. They just went around, they gathered the Dragon Balls, boom, done. That was an entire arc in Dragon Ball. That was multiple arcs. The first arc, they gathered the Dragon Balls. Another entire arc, they gathered the Dragon Balls. That was the whole point of the arc. I mean, sure, the Red Ribbon Army arc was more about the Red Ribbon Army, but throughout, most of the arc, it was all about the chase for the Dragon Balls. It was the entire arc was gathering them. So, sure, the focus was on the Red Ribbon Army, but that was still a huge, that was taking place over the course of an entire arc, and they just, bam, done, we got it. Okay. I did like how they incorporated it into the opening scene. The opening scene of finding the Dragon Balls was good. I'm struggling here to talk about a generic random Dragon Ball Z movie. Wow, I wanted to get better at talking about random anime I've seen in the past, but this is a little bit of fire from the fire to the lava pit here. Ooh. So I guess the action didn't really click with me. The fact that these iterations of the characters are iconic, but they aren't really the ones I care about the most. They're in between states of characters I care about on two different ends of the spectrum. I care about these guys in their Dragon Ball forms, and they're kind of past that. And I care about some of these guys like Gohan and Goku later on. I care about Teen Gohan and somewhat older Gohan, but for completely different reasons. I care about Piccolo as his mentor-y role, and he's not quite there yet. He is kind of because of the randomness and unclearness of the whole timeline thing. He doesn't quite act as well as Piccolo should as his mentor role. So he isn't the Dragon Ball Piccolo that I love his relationship with Goku, and I love his character development. And he's not the Gohan mentoring, caring grandpa Piccolo that he was towards the end of Dragon Ball Z and even at the end of the Saiyan saga. So we're in this weird in-between state with the characters where they're not the characters that I really care about, and they haven't become something new. Tien is probably the biggest example of this. Love him in Dragon Ball, but towards the end of Dragon Ball, he's almost completely phased out by the end. He's outpowered, outmatched, outcharacterized, and towards the end of Dragon Ball Z, in the Cell arc, particularly, was his last great moment, was when he pin Cell to the ground, and that was a legitimately great moment. And it was even better in the Abridged series. That was the highlight of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, was him pinning Cell to the ground, because I felt that was betterly delivered than the show ever could have, because of the fact it was truly just that moment of catharsis of him beating the most powerful character alive, just beating him into submission. That was just perfect. But the rest of the movie, I don't know, I just felt like overall it wasn't the best. And the animation, I don't remember being particularly great, but I don't remember it being particularly bad either. I know they used the animation for part of the opening. I remember the Great Ape scene, which is up here, the Great Ape scene, and him trancing around doing some stuff, and that was semi-cool. I did like the Great Ape transformation, but again, that's kind of like Godzilla. The more you use it, the less impact it has, and by this point, I think I've seen the Great Ape used every other time. I think this is like the last time I saw the Great Ape used, like, in a new context. Maybe GT. Okay, GT was the last time with the Golden Great Apes, but this was the last time in Dragon Ball Z I saw the Great Ape used. So that's probably one of the reasons. In fact, this was one of the last Dragon Ball Z movies I watched, so the other ones have more of a special place in my heart, and I'm probably a bit more harsh on it because of that reason. Is this a movie where Icarus is introduced? I think this is, yeah, I'm fairly certain this is the movie Icarus is introduced, because he's already in it by this point in time with Piccolo guy, with basically King Piccolo returning for his second fight, but not that. Tree Might Slug. Interesting cover there. This is also, I think, the first time Goku will go Super Saiyan without going Super Saiyan, as in, wow, you hurt my friends, and I'm powering up, and with the power of friendship, look at my new form, I'm covered in ki and kicking butt now, I've got a huge power up. But it's not Super Saiyan, because that wasn't a thing yet, it was just a generic trope they were using for the movie. I don't know, I feel like the movie just has more flaws than good points, and because of that, its score gets dragged down. Like, this side of the movie, I don't really care for. I like this imagery back here, and the good parts of this are great. It's just the bad parts of this are really bringing those great parts down. And I feel like the great parts are brought down by just where Dragon Ball Z was at the time, and how these characters were being characterized, and how the fights were outplaying themselves. This was not Dragon Ball fights. This was not the beginning of Dragon Ball Z fights, and it wasn't the end of Dragon Ball Z fights. It was in about the midpoint where I felt fights were at its weakest, where it wasn't Goku versus Vegeta, the last good Dragon Ball fight, in my opinion. And this was after that. And because of that, it was starting the more Z type of fights, the more yelling at each other, power-up type of fights. And that didn't really get as good as it could get until much later on. I think Cell arc and kind of Kid Buu were at the peaks of where those type of fights were. So this is an awkward point for the fight. So all the good points are kind of brought down by themselves, and then we're just left with a bunch of bad points, and then just the tree idea itself, which is a cool concept. But again, we kind of had that concept used in Dragon Ball Z a lot. Like a lot. I've already seen GT at this point. I've already seen, like, oh, this guy's spreading some deadly thing throughout the universe and everyone's dying because it's deadly and it's draining life from things. I've already seen it. I've seen it, done it, been there, blah, blah, blah. And that's the point with pretty much all the movies. They're just rehashes of things that have happened in the show. I mean, do we even have to talk about Return of Cooler or the original Cooler movie as being rehashes of things that happened in the show? I mean, a Saiyan comes to Earth and attacks it, and he tries to conquer it and kill it for whatever reason. Yeah, that's never been done before. And oh, that Saiyan has ties to Goku somehow. Whoa, it's because they look the same instead of being brothers. So it's basically the same thing. Whoa. And it's just, yeah, I guess it just has a few too many bad things. Like this scene here, I think is a legitimately good scene with all the animals being out of home, but then like a year later, they're still out of a home and they're just all just kind of gathered around. They seem to be getting along just fine without having a home. This scene, cool. This is a great scene. I think this was actually not even from this movie. This was from the, what was that movie called? It was, the one with the giant brain guy. This one, I can't even read that, but giant brain guy movie, which is a movie I haven't even completed. I've just watched the abridged of, and I couldn't watch the actual actual movie because I got too bored. I thought that was probably the weakest Dragon Ball Z movie in my opinion, with this being second place, to be honest. And I guess as far as Dragon Ball Z movies go, something's gotta be second place, and this is it. Okay, that was kind of random and unexpected. I was expecting for something more climatic, some sort of epic series where I'd go in this huge discovery trip, but no, it is a random Dragon Ball Z movie, which I'm perfectly okay with. So I guess I'll see you the next time I decide to do this, which is probably be right now. I'll probably record like 4 or 5 of these, and then over the course of time, edit them. Because I'm a fast editor, guys. Like, favorite, and subscribe for the latest content. Friend me on my Mal. Friend me on Mal. Friend me on Mal. My thing is Dragmagon. Do you see the M there? That was a mistake. I actually just misspelled my name. I'm trying to change it, but they're not letting me change it, and I'm getting upset. I'm actually getting upset by, like, because there's a way to change it in your settings, but they're not letting me do it, and that's actually upsetting me. And I only have 2 friends. Please friend me. Please, like, look at my mean score. Look at it and be upset by it, because I'm upset by it. I look at other people's mean score, and no one has a lower mean score than me, and I feel like that's worrying. That physically worries me that no one does. And so, yeah, that kind of a thing. Ooh. Hi everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode of this new series I'm starting. Now, if you want to watch more of the series, however, I would head on over to my secondary channel over here. Just go over there, subscribe, and so you can keep up to date with the series, because it will be migrating over there, and I will be posting the videos on that channel, because it's just a bit more fitting over there. And if you want other videos in this vein where I discuss anime in general, or gaming, or other topics, and some more discussion podcast, you might want to also head over there. You know, I'm going to be posting most of my smaller projects and little bits and pieces and things I still feel like it would make good videos, but not necessarily, you know, huge videos as like, yes, this is the hugest, greatest video ever made, but are still like pretty good, you know, better than any other content on YouTube by far. There's not other people good. No, it's just me. I'm the only good YouTuber. Just me. Subscribe. Yay.